Head to the NFC and AFC Championships. Let's talk some buys. Yo! What's happening, everybody? We just wrapped up a divisional round. It's Brian. It's Brendan. It's too much fantasy football. How we doing, man?
Death, taxes, and Mahomes in the AFC Championship game.
7 years in a row. Let's
impressive.
Go.
Yeah.
Are we witnessing greatness? Do we appreciate it? Or are we just annoyed at this point? I'm fighting the emotions going back and forth.
I mean, you appreciate it. Like, you have to sit there and realize, sure, we can talk about the games because we probably will for a little bit. Like, which we can just dive into right now. The Chiefs-Texans game. Was there bad calls? Yes. But did C.J. Stroud get sacked 8 times? Yes.
Did they block an extra point? Did they miss a kick? So much there.
Yeah, I get that it's frustrating because it's the head coach and Will Anderson were very, blunt. Like, it was us versus everybody, which, that's a good mentality to have and, be honest and, be mad. But, at the end of the day, those plays weren't the reason why they lost. They lost because George Karlaftis had 3 sacks. Chris Jones had a couple sacks. They didn't get Nico Collins involved. It was irrelevant. They didn't, and it sucks because they lost Tank Dell, they lost Stephon. Now they had both those guys. I think the game would have been a lot different.
I think so too. I 100% think that it would be a different game had they gone in there with, is Tank Dell a weapon at this point? I don't know. He showed out last game against the Chiefs, but good Lord, this was a rough season for him.
Yeah.
Man, dude, there were some heartbreakers this weekend. None more than the Detroit Lions on Saturday night. Just points on points on points, man.
Dude, Jaden Daniels could not be stopped. Now, granted, the Lions are going with third stringers. I get it. They were basically just, going with a medical field as their defensive front. But, at the end of the day, is Jaden Daniels that? Is he that good, or was the Lions just that beat up? Because we're gonna find out on Sunday. Because the Eagles they're gonna be hampered a little bit, but they still have some key pieces there that can stop them.
And he showed out last game against them. Sure, Jalen Hurts got knocked out of that game, but Tanner McKee kept it. He was tossing the ball, keeping the Eagles in that game, forcing Daniels to continue to score points. And 299 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. 51 yards on the ground, just an amazing showing by Jaden Daniels this past weekend.
Let me ask you this for the Lions. We're going to talk about it. They're going to lose both their coordinators. Are they still going to be a good team next year? Are you going to believe in them?
I think they're going to be a good team. I don't know if they're going to be a great team next year.
I think they're still going to be a very, very good team. That roster, it's the roster.
For sure.
Stout O-lineman, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, they still have an Aiden Hutchinson will come back. They have very good pieces. I think Lions fans, I know Ben Johnson's a great play caller and Aaron Glenn's a really good defensive coordinator. But I think the pieces they have there, I think they just need an above average play caller on both sides and they'll be just fine.
They have to start paying these players too. They've drafted so well over the last 4-ish years, and now it's time we have to start paying some of these players, some of the luxury pieces they have, like Jameson Williams. Are they going to pay to keep the guy that was humping the ground? What was that?
That was great. I'm a buyer in Jameson Williams, man. Give me all the stock in him.
Oh man, he did have that egregious pick, but he's a wide receiver. He can't expect too much.
That's not on him. That's on Ben Johnson calling that play call when your season's on the line and you're down by 10. That's on Ben Johnson.
Yeah. Great game. Commanders fans, I love that they've got the new owner, too. That changes the mentality of rooting for the Commanders 110%. They're the
big
underdog.
Big Dan Snyder.
Yeah, my team's out of it. I'm going for the underdog. Do I really want them to go to the Super Bowl and give Patrick Mahomes possibly a free ride? I don't know. Maybe I want the Eagles to win for that purpose, but I want the Bills to play first so we can see them win and then give me the Commanders.
Yeah, we almost had a second upset though on Sunday. I guess afternoon, Rams and Eagles. Let me ask you this: do you still believe in Jalen Hurts as a quarterback? Not fantasy wise. I'm asking you as a pure quarterback. Do you believe in him?
Not as much as I did. I did. Fantasy, sure. I'm still okay taking him probably where
all
we
in on
next
fantasy.
Year. Yeah.
Rushing upside, tush push, give it to me all.
But as far as their Super Bowl window with Jalen Hurts, I don't know how long that window is open if it's him behind center. Rough game for him.
Yeah, he had like, I think the Rams had like 6, 7 sacks on him. Now, granted, like I talked to my buddies who are Eagles fans, like I will say their play calling is very, very weird. They do a lot of slow, long developing plays, but Jalen Hurts has to have some sort of pocket awareness. Like it just seemed like he just didn't have a clue that Jared Verse was coming.
Jared Verse, absolutely. Like for talking all the smack he did, he showed up. He showed up. Rams, we thought they were done early, but they came back. It was a close game,
Yeah.
close finish.
Um, where are you at with the Rams? Do you think do you think they're still going to be competitive with Stafford?
Stafford's already said that he's going to take some time to make his decision, so I think that's a huge. Hey, does Sam Darnold come down to play with Sean McVay if Stafford retires?
I've heard the Saints are going to offer him a huge contract, supposedly, which is
They're
gross.
already paying Taysom Hill and Derek Carr. What in the?
They can
They
cut
don't.
Derek Carr, I think, with like no repercussions. So that's why. But like,
Okay.
that'd be gross.
Yeah, just Sam, don't do that. Don't do that. Go to a good coach. Go to if anybody's going to fix you or help continue to be positively moving forward, it's going to be McVay. Snowy game, but not as bad. I mean, both these games were absolute blizzards. The home team, no turnovers. That was the difference here. Because the Sunday night game, freaking heartbreaker, absolutely
Before we start
heartbreaking.
there, Saquon is very, very good. Like
Yeah,
Saquon is. Giants fans were crying watching that game. Just wanted to add that, just that tearjerker.
100% builds in the conversation the argument of like draft location matters.
Yes.
Like, where would Saquon be in his career had he spent his time not with the Giants
Oh
or the
man.
Jets?
I don't want to
Uh,
talk about this next game, but go ahead.
yeah, this one was rough. I might have been rooting for the Ravens a little bit more to make it like an unbiased take here, but uh, wild game. Lamar had the pick with the miscommunication on the with the wide receiver. He had a fumble. Mark Andrews had a fumble. And then, of course, the costly 2 point conversion drop there at the end of the game. I think what doesn't isn't talked about enough, or what I'm not seeing talked about isn't enough. Had he caught that, they just need a
They had
field
like a
goal.
minute 30. Yeah, they
Yeah,
had like a
with two
minute 30.
timeouts, they had
Yeah,
more than enough
it's
time. He could have scored probably twice after Lamar scored one more time. Like we could have gone back and forth 3 times here.
yeah, like if granted, like if he catches that, it's great. But he's one of those quarterbacks where it's like you left too much time. Like Mahomes obviously only needs like 13 seconds. Josh Allen doesn't need that long either, and so does Lamar. Like these guys that are like top five don't need long.
That
They
was
just
the
need a
detriment of that
minute tops.
pocket. He had multiple
Yeah,
plays where that pocket was so big. I'm like, he's not going to get the short play. They're going to either nothing, or he's going to get something long and it's going to be eating up way too many yards. And that's inevitably kind of what happened there. Mark
yeah.
Andrews, 2 drops in this game, 4 all season. He hadn't had one since week 6. So,
Do you know how
where's
many playoff touchdowns he has in his career?
I don't. I don't.
Zero, zero.
No,
I
shut your
swear,
mouth.
he has zero playoff touchdowns in his career.
That's wild. And
Yeah,
Mahomes and Kelsey, like, what do they have, 18 or 30, something like that? I
I don't
saw
know. They're
some
gonna
wild
break the record
combination.
for the most combo, probably. I think they already did. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, you believe in that next year? Probably not at 80 again.
Yes, it was a bad game. It was a fluky game. I'm still believing in Mark Andrews. If people are selling Mark Andrews, go buy it right now.
Yeah, he's gonna be 30 years old. That's not old for a tight end, not at all.
No.
Kelsey's out there, what, 35?
Looked at 100 yards and a touchdown. So
Goodness, absolutely ridiculous. So, folks,
yeah,
let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show. This is what we're here to talk about. We're talking about some buys here. We're looking at whether it be dynasty, whether you're looking at it from a redraft perspective of like who am I going after, who am I really getting get excited about. Probably more so in the dynasty end though. So, let's talk some buys here, Brendan. Give me out your first guy. Who are you excited about going to
the
snag?
first guy that like I would say that I'm buying, I would say buy low on is Jalen Waddle. I think this is a perfect situation where he hasn't stayed healthy in a few seasons. Tyreek Hill's asking to leave. Obviously, he'd be before. Let's remember, when before Tyreek Hill got there, he was a receptions king with Tua, and so they had a good receiver from their rookie class, Parker Washington, I believe his name is.
Mm-hmm.
He looked pretty decent. So like, there's a possibility of them moving on from Tyreek and just being like, we could probably use the cap situation to go elsewhere. But I'd buy low on Jalen Waddle.
You haven't even brought up their best player. Come on, John. Where's the John respect?
Oh man.
Yeah, Waddle. I think there's a price to be had. Depending on where people lie as far as like the Tyreek news, there, I would be all about going to buy him, picking him up right now.
Yeah, I think I'd offer like a mid to late first round pick. I think that'd be pretty enticing for a Waddle owner. Being like, I'm over it. I want to move forward. I'm going to get some decent capital. I can get a guy that sounds exciting. So
For sure. Um, let's not say this is exactly likeness. This is where I'm starting here, but I'm going to start with top of my list. He just landed there. Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, somebody I'm willing to go buy. Again, price is always where is what I'm looking at here, but the owner of Jerry Jeudy is probably like, oh my gosh, here's my window. I can finally get rid of this cat, get rid of him, get something for him in return. I'm willing to go buy him. Like, Cleveland's in a certain situation. They are in a bit of a cap bind, even if they can get out of Deshaun Watson with, whatever magic they can with, the social media rumors or whatever. But even if they do, they're building this wide receiver room through the draft. They're not going to be adding a free agent. He just re-signed this past summer, so he's going to be locked in for the start of this year and possibly the next couple of years. You can look for some security, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all as far as a target hog.
who are you expecting to be the quarterback for Cleveland?
Kirk
Is it Shadur
Cousins.
Sanders? All right, so they just want to really be in cap hell for Cleveland, right? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
they're not trading for him. The Falcons are going to cut him. They're going to pick him up like a Russell Wilson
Ah,
style thing here. They're going
okay.
to trade down from that second round because they don't need a quarterback right now. Let's wait till next year when all these good QBs are coming out.
I I do thoroughly enjoy your tinfoil hat conspiracies. I do enjoy them. I must say, I I can kind of see the Kirk Cousins move there, but I just think with the pick two, I think Shador. I know that
His dad
Dad
will not
has
let
a
him
lot.
go to Cleveland.
I'm just saying, like I probably could see him landing there, but yeah, that's who. I don't mind it. I don't like. What would you offer for the Jerry Jeudy owner? Like, what would you give him?
If I can get like a second and third,
Okay,
I do it. I don't
I
think
think
I'd
I'd
go
take. I
quite.
have Jerry Jeudy in one of my leagues. I think I'd consider it.
Yeah, depending on where those picks are at, what you're rocking with. I don't want to quite pay 2 seconds. I don't know if I believe it that much because there's a huge question mark over that whole thing. But I like to take risks. I like to go for some buys.
All right, another guy that I'm going to buy low on is Najee Harris. I think he's a free agent. I don't know if he's going back to Pittsburgh. That's where the exciting part is. That like I think a team's going to overpay for him. This running back free agency class is awful. I think he's lit at the top of the list of like if you looked at it, I think he's number one. So a team that needs a running back will spend money on him, and I think that he could be not a bell cow, but like he could be serviceable. And I think the guy who owns Najee probably wants to get rid of him. And so I'd probably be a buyer right now. It'd be right now. You'd want to buy now before after the draft because it could be where he doesn't really go to a great spot, but you got to gamble, and that's the point of dynasty sometimes.
Yeah, right now we're looking at Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, AJ Dillon, Nick Chubb, Javante Williams as the free agent running back class. So yeah, Najee is
Yeah,
quite a gem within that. Maybe Javante
yeah,
Williams, if you still believe in that, he's only 24 years old, but Najee will be 27 going into next season, so still definitely usable.
yeah,
Next guy I have on my list, Rashee Rice. This is a particular interesting one. This was a huge buy for me as soon as he tore his ACL for for teams that were rebuilding. If you weren't competing this year, you'll always buy the ACL. Like I'm all about buying that just because a contending team doesn't need him. You usually buy him cheaper. So I think that window might have closed, but he's an interesting situation just with the suspension. If you still can buy him on the cheap because we haven't had word of the suspension, I'm all about it. So give that to me.
yeah. Like I own a lot of Rasheed Rice, so but I'm also a big believer in him. So I don't know if I'd want to sell. Like I still think he's Mahomes' number one target. I like Worthy a lot too, but so what would you like to like offer to get him? Like if you like, I own Rasheed Rice. What would you offer me to like get me to convince me to sell him?
Maybe that late first round pick, like maybe if you are a contending team, there's supposed to be a lot of running backs here, especially late in the first round. If you can flip him for Rushy Rice, especially as soon as news gets talked about, maybe it's not even announced a suspension, but he just gets brought up in the news. We
Mm,
freak out. We have such a long time between NFL games that we have too much time to get in our heads and think about it. And that's what you're playing on here. You're playing on the emotion. So as soon as that news comes out, maybe wait like a week for them to like stew it a little bit. Throw that first round pick.
All
Maybe it's
right.
a first and like a third round
A
receiver, something
player.
like that. Yeah, something like little
Okay.
player to kind of add a little instead of another running back, something like that.
I'm thinking like a random player, like Jalen Coker. Like,
Yeah, absolutely, something like that. You know, a lottery ticket into a first.
okay, all right, I don't mind it. The guy that I'm gonna go to my buy like high list, who like I do like a lot. It's Jalen McMillan. I think this is a guy is a perfect time to buy now. He had a very, very good end of the year. I don't know if the Jalen McMillan owner wants to sell him particularly, but I see a future where he is going to be very, very good. With obviously, you saw what Baker did with both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Mike Evans, he's beating father time allegations, which is impressive. But I think Jalen McMillan's going to take that Chris Godwin role because I think Chris Godwin's a free agent coming off a broken ankle. I mean, he's got the tenacity to be a wide receiver too at the bare minimum. He's someone I'd offer like a mid first for. Like I'm a big believer in Jalen McMillan.
Yeah, I definitely think Tom Brady left the fountain of youth there in Tampa Bay, and Mike Evans just been bathing in that shit. It's
Yeah.
unreal. So Jalen McMillan, let me just play devil's advocate a little bit. Was it
Okay.
7 touchdowns in the final 5 games? That's a
Yep.
nice little stretch. Was it
Yeah.
also about that time period that Baker Mayfield said, "I'm going to do anything and everything to throw the ball to Mike Evans to make sure that he gets his 1,000 yards"?
Okay. Put him on my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. It was an illusion to just spread the ball in front of them and win games. All right. Just possibility. Um, no, I genuinely believe I don't see Chris Godwin coming back to Tampa. I think he's all like because I think this wide receiver free agency class isn't the best either, from my understanding. I think it's T. Higgins is the 101, and then I think Chris Godwin's next, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so too. That's my biggest fear about buying him right now is I think there is a chance that Chris Godwin can come back purely because of the injury. I know it's not a long term injury, something that could really hamper it, but just because it's the home, we saw him last time he went to free agency. He had the injury, the ACL, a lot more serious, but he came back on a team or friendlier deal. So that would be my only fear
Mm-hmm.
with spending that much for him.
Okay.
My next one, it's going to be more on the high side. It's Drake London. Hopefully, you can find that manager that maybe you can get him for a little cheaper than his cost. But I'm into it. I'm totally into it. Let me into this team. Let me have some Penix action. The big guy throwing it out there to him. He had a clear connection with Drake London. Darnell Mooney's an amazing number 2, but he's not anybody I'm worried about overshadowing Drake London. So. And it's not like that tight end's taking away anything from this passing tree. So yeah, give me Drake London all day.
I'm trying to think if I have Drake London in a few leagues. I think you would have to offer me something very, very nice.
I
Like
definitely overpaid for
102.
him.
Yeah, you'd offer me like a 102, and like I don't even know if I want to sell him. He's one of those guys where like if you want to go get him, you're gonna have to pay. But I do see the future of where they took him. They took him 9th overall. I think that like with him and Michael Penix showed, I think you'll actually get back what you pay for. So I do believe in that.
Young guy too. Like third year going to third year in the league. He's a young guy. Give me your next one. Who else you have?
All right. So this is a buy low, a very, very low. And I bet you this owner is very, very frustrated with this person. It's Jaden Reed. The Packers have yet to, for whatever reason, not spend a first round pick on the offensive side of the ball. I don't see that changing unless it's like an offensive lineman because they definitely need that after this playoff run. But Jaden Reed, like if you watch that playoff game, like they finally started to use him, and like they're like, oh wow, this guy's really, really good, and like he got injured, I think, if not mistaken. But yeah, I'd buy low on Jaden Reed. I would try to see what it would take to get him off the owner's hands. I'd offer like a high second round pick just to see if that entice the guy.
Yeah, kick the tires. He finished as half PPR, wide receiver 26 this year, wide receiver 23 last year. So you're buying it in a low wide receiver 2. The frustrations, because it's a lot of boom bust with him, it's more of a wide receiver 3. So yeah, absolutely. If I can go in there and kind of swoop in with something, some cheap deal. How many second round picks hit last year? We had an amazing 2024 rookie class.
We did.
That second round was still some garbage, though.
Yeah. So I'm definitely trying to see if that owner would like to sell, and I bet you they do. So like I own Jaden Reed, and like if someone offered me like a high second round pick, I'd be kind of considering it.
Next up on my list is I mean, it's Marvin Harrison. It's going to be hard to go by from him. Who spent that top, number one, number two overall pick in Superflex for him? I don't think I want to flip him. You didn't see enough bad to like really warrant. Okay, get rid of him. Jump. It's not like a Jonathan Mingo kind of season where you're like, oh, get rid of him, bail.
Bye.
But for whatever reason, if you're able to work him into a trade, if you're able to still pay a decent amount but not too much, I'll go get him. I'm still going to go get him.
I'm trying to think, like, what would you – I'm Marvin Harrison owner. What are you offering me to entice me to move him? Like, what would be your offer?
I mean, that's where it comes to like team need and what they're really looking for. It's going to be.
I need a running back and I do also need a wide receiver and draft capital. Like, I need a bit of everything.
Yeah.
I'm still a rebuilding team.
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe if would you? I mean, do you want Jalen McMillan or do you want Marvin Harrison?
Oh boy!
Wow!
Oh boy! I'm gonna be safe with the fans and say Marvin Harrison, but boy, it's not you, boy.
Okay, so out of this rookie class, do you want Neighbors or Marvin Harrison?
Brian Thomas Jr., then Neighbors, then Marvin Harrison and McMillan right behind him. Like literally,
where's Lad McConkey fall for you?
Lad McConkey. Oh, I forgot about Lad. Lad's right there too. He's right there next to Marvin. Because I genuinely, the Chargers are going to get a possession wide receiver, and you'll see the numbers dip a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely. They have to add. They have to add. I think they're going to add to the tight end position too, and I think he's going to be used just as much. Like we're talking about the guy that was rocking Mark Andrews for the year as far as the OC. So I'm a little worried about where Lad is because I mean the Rocket's blowing up. Everybody's excited. So I'm not saying get rid of him because you're afraid of it going bad, but I just think that you could really cash in on Lad if you'd like to right now.
All right.
Give me another guy. Who else you like?
All right. Well, I wrote this down before he was signed over to Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson's now the new head coach. I had Odunze. Now the prices just went up a little bit more, just a little bit more. He's tremendously talented. Dude has shown in games that he can be that dominant wide receiver. I think Ben Johnson uses a lot of the guys in the slot, and he can play in that role. So I think him and DJ Moore both can be in the slot, but I'm buying in on the young guy they just spent, high draft capital on. And so the guy who owns Odunze probably is a little frustrated with what happened. They were expecting like maybe closer to like a Malik Neighbors season, but not that much. Like I knew when I drafted Rome, I was thinking like 60 receptions, close to 1,000 yards, a couple touchdowns. What did he end up finishing with, by the way? Do you have his stat line pulled up?
For Odunze?
Yeah. What was his official stat line at the end of the year? I'm very curious.
He finished as wide receiver 49 in both PPR and half. 54 catches, 734 yards, just 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so it's a little disappointing, and obviously now with Ben Johnson coming into town, the price probably went up a little bit. But I'd offer a first round pick.
I mean, let's go ahead and piggyback Caleb Williams, or I mean, really any of these Bears players. I'm okay going after him, but the price just went up. As of the Ben Johnson hiring as the new head coach, the price definitely went up. Interesting enough, Caleb Williams had the highest rate of inaccurate throws into the end zone at 45%. NFL average was 23%. So where do you lean on that as far as like his skill versus the OC? Because if that's an OC problem, well, we might have just fixed that.
Yeah, I think his O-line was bad. So I wonder if a lot of those throws came from him rolling out of the pocket, him throwing on the run. How many of those throws were in the pocket, clean pocket, trying to just nail the guy in his hands? Like, I think there's a lot of variables with that. So, like, I still think, Caleb Williams is an extremely, talented quarterback. I'd definitely be a buyer for sure. Obviously, it's tough to say. Let me ask you this. Do you think Jaden Daniels would still have the season he had if he was with the Bears?
No, because he would have had Shane Waldron over Cliff Kingsbury. And that's not a Cliff Kingsbury's amazing, folks. I'm not trying to toot his horn. I'm just trying to
he's competent.
Yeah, I'm trying to poo-poo there on Shane Waldron. So, no, I don't think he would have had the team, despite him having significantly better, weapons there in Chicago.
Yeah. So
He was the
sure,
weapon. He was the weapon in Washington.
Yes, he still is the weapon.
If I had to sprinkle some quarterbacks, I'm going after Baker Mayfield. I feel like just his age, it's not old, but people look at it because it's Dynasty. They get worried. So I'm willing to bet you can get him cheaper for his true value. Trevor Lawrence, he's not getting Ben Johnson. I really, really hoped he did. Maybe he gets Cohen from down there in Tampa. He still has a decent chance of getting a good coach, but I'm willing to buy him just because I think his value is lower than it is. And quarterbacks, they always retain value. Tanner McKee, there's my long shot quarterback I'm willing to go buy.
I saw that.
I'm willing to go after it. Jalen Hurts, there's enough about him. It's not out of character for the Philadelphia Eagles to do that. And from people I know that follow it, there's some hype on this guy. 6'6", he's built just massively, completely different direction than Jalen Hurts. But what do you have to really pay for him? You can't go buy him specifically. But if you get him,
you can pick him off the waiver wire.
I was going to say, you might be able to get him off the waiver wire in some leagues. But just my deep for the Superflex QB.
I'd offer like a 3rd round pick if you're like that much of a believer in him. Like, I think he's tremendously talented. A lot of Eagles fans have said that there's a running joke for Eagles fans saying that he's the best quarterback on that roster.
And for that,
I watched him play.
I'm
like, I actually kind of believe that. So
I was starting Jameis Winston in games. Drew Lock, I was starting in games this year. So, you always want to go after these backups. And if you want to go after one that can really do something, I think that he's as good of a gamble as any.
All right.
Rapid fire, a couple more of these for me. You got definitely bigger list than me. So go ahead and toss out a few more for us and give us a quick little highlight.
These are all my high ones. Like you're paying significantly high. Like Bucky Irving, I want to own him. I'm paying top dollar for him. And then I'm a believer in Ashton Genty, man. Go get the 101. Just ask. It doesn't I tell people in my dynasty leagues, I will trade away anybody for the right price. This whole phenomenon of he's untradeable, BS. Justin Jefferson's tradable. What will you offer?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think any player should be untouchable. Maybe certain parts of their lifespan, sure, because sometimes it's just hard to replicate that true value, but I'm still entertaining all those offers, 100%. So as far as Bucky Irving, you said there, do you want Bucky Irving or Jahmyr Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs, not close.
Bucky Irving or Brian Robinson Jr.?
Bucky.
Bucky or James Cook?
Bucky.
Bucky or ETN?
It's not even. Yeah. Are you talking about the upcoming rookie ETN?
No. Active.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm taking Bucky still. Taking Bucky over both ETN brothers.
Cool. And then who else do you have on here? Brock Bowers, Michael Penix.
Yeah, you're paying high. But again, if I can lock up the tight end position for good, forever, I will pay a tremendous hefty price for it. If the Brock Bowers owner is like, give me 3 firsts and I have a winning team, done. I have a winning roster. I have good players. Have them.
Would you trade Caleb Williams for Brock Bowers?
In a heartbeat. Even in Superflex.
Yeah, especially tight end premium, I think you have to do that. Which is wild. Just
I am the person in the league that doesn't like owning draft picks unless I'm rebuilding. I'd much rather have the established player over what could be.
Mm-hmm.
So all day, every day, give me the guy that I know what he is over what maybe he might be good.
I agree with you there. Well, folks, that is going to wrap up the buys that we have for you. This is all of the fun stuff. Make sure you come back Friday, DFS coverage of the championship games. We'll be hitting it at you. And, of course, next week it's time for sells. It's time to clear out the garage, get rid of those dynasty rosters, put those people up for trade. Brendan, where can the people find you if they've got more questions?
You can find me on X at FFAMBMulk, and then you can find me on the Fantasy Football Advice Network as well.
It's at @too_much_Brian on Twitter, @too_much_Brian everywhere else. Folks, we'll see you next time. We're getting out of here. Goodbye.